Okay, so who am I speaking with?
Oh, good morning. I am Joy Stevens, and just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time because, we're living in a society and a time right now when there's so much anxiety and stress around the elections, and people always talk about self-care. How are you taking care of yourself? How are you doing? And some people are doing a better job at it than others, but how are you taking care of joy during these kind of stressful times?
hmm Oh, great question. And for me, it's all about my mental state of mind. Uh, physically, I'm okay. I'm healthy. I don't have any issues. But mentally, I have to really pay attention to that because if I don't keep my mental health, I can go into that black hole very easily. So to maintain that, I'm trying to keep everything in perspective. I'm trying to educate myself. I'm trying to talk to people who do not share my point of view. Because, how can half the country believe in Trump and the Republican Party platform? What is it that I'm missing? What am I not seeing? What is it that they see? So I'm trying to be very open-minded about it to keep myself sort of, like I said, putting everything, keeping it in perspective.
Well, I think what I'm getting is that you're kind of looking at the big picture, and I think that
hmm
we're living right now in a time when there's a lot of polarization going on. People are kind of digging their heels in, and when you dig your heels in, sometimes you're kind of blinded to a broader perspective. And so when we get to like the actual election day, Tuesday, there's going to be the news going constantly. There'll probably be people on social media that are going to be very emotional and very passionate
Yeah.
about their position and what's going on and the future. But how are you going to deal with Tuesday? Are you going to like go on a hike somewhere or do yoga all day or something?
No, I've turned into a bit of a news junkie, so chances are I'm going to be attached um, to the news. What I've been doing lately actually is I've been looking at all of the news channels. I see what the CNN is reporting. I see what the ABC, NBC, and CBS are reporting. Then I go to CBC, and then I take a look at what BBC is doing because every one of these outlets have they've got their own spin, and so I will be flipping channels on Tuesday. But the other thing that I've realized, I've found this program called Circus or The Circus. I forget exactly what it's called. Just love it. And they did a program on there, and other people have said this as well, that on Tuesday, that we won't know for sure, possibly, who the next president will be, and we'd have to wait a while. So I'm kind of bracing myself and saying, okay, an announcement will be made on Tuesday. So and so is in the lead in this state and that state, but the final news is not going to come out till what, end of November, maybe?
Yeah, I get end of November. Wow, yeah, that could be several
Isn't
days, and
isn't that
there'll be
the?
a lot of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
that will remain, I think, in our communities and in the country. Have you, during this whole process, this whole election season, have you like lost any sleep, or do you? I mean, are there any kind of disruptions that you've noticed just in your daily lives, or just how you're kind of feeling? I mean, you mentioned your keeping your mental perspective healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other effects?
I get mad. I get angry. I look at some of the issues that for me are really important, and these include things like climate change is very important to me because we don't have, my husband and I, we don't have kids, but I've got a niece and nephew, and I think about them when they grow up and what kind of world is going to be left for them to live in. And when certain parties believe that climate change is not important, the scientists don't know what they're talking about, and they don't participate in the global effort to try to deal with climate change and pull out of certain Paris Accords and so on and so on. That makes me mad. It makes me angry. It makes me frustrated because I can't do anything about that. in I shouldn't say I can't do anything about it because that's not true. There's a lot of great nonprofits out there working at climate change, but from that big perspective, when a government makes a decision to pull away from making climate change top of mind and an important issue, but go the other way instead, protecting fossil fuel companies and so on, that makes me mad. And yeah, I get frustrated because it's beyond my control.
So when you get angry and frustrated, do you call up a friend, a like-minded friend, or how do you deal with that? Because I know I get angry sometimes and frustrated, but what helps me is if I can vent to somebody who's
Yeah.
also angry and frustrated. But how, from a therapeutic standpoint, do you kind of deal with that anger?
So uh, my husband and I are both of the same mind. We have the same value systems and we believe the same kinds of things. So it's great to have a conversation with him because he's very practical and he puts things into perspective. But it's just really it's really great just having somebody to talk to about it. And you're right. I will pick up the phone sometimes, or I will get on a social media thread with friends and colleagues who I know think the way I do, and participate in that conversation. And we're kind of all supporting each other because we all have the same idea and the same thoughts. And so that's kind of what I do to help me get over it, to realize that, this isn't happening to me personally. It's happening to the whole world. And there's a whole bunch of us being affected by certain actions that certain people do. And just that, it's sort of like safety in groups, safety in numbers. It just makes me feel better when I have that opportunity to just, you know, write add my thoughts to a social media thread. And so that's what I've been doing, more so than actually necessarily talking to people, is just participating that way.
Well, it seems like you've got a nice balance of looking at different news channels, getting different perspectives, but also getting that support that you need in order to, kind of keep that anger from bubbling up a little bit too much so that it really starts to affect you physically or
Mhm.
emotionally or mentally. Last question. What do you hope for in future elections? Because this one's been particularly unique and particularly trying, but do you have a hope that maybe, well, 4 years from now, we're dealing with a much, I don't know, more pleasant experience maybe?
Mhm. The thing that annoys me more than anything is the misinformation and disinformation that has been shared. And I was taught what the difference between the two is. And, the disinformation coming from outside influences, like perhaps the Russians or the Iranians or the Chinese or
Mhm.
some country out there trying to influence the decision. And I hope at the next election cycle that we don't see that, or that is just so darn annoying when you hear people talk about an issue that is not true, but they believe it in all their heart that it is true. And you and I know that if somebody has a thought in their mind, you can't change their point of view. You just can't. They believe that vehemently, and you just have to let them go. But where did they get that idea from in the first place? They saw it on news, they saw it on a Twitter, somebody retweeted it, you know. And so that's what's really bothers me. And hopefully next time around that we are given facts, and that this misinformation and these lies and this disinformation is not part of how we decide who we're going to put in office.
Yeah, it really behooves us all to really be diligent and researching and validating and verifying information, because there's a lot of people with nefarious goals out there that want to manipulate. And unfortunately, we just have to be very cautious. So thank you for your comments today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.